Hello everybody and welcome to the fourth video for the course. In this video we build on the end of the video last time. So just recall that last time we defined the data type string. So this is a data type that is designed to store strings of English. So English sentences, English paragraphs, etc. In this video we will spend most of our time doing things with strings. So last time we defined strings, but didn't really do much with them. In this video, we will do a bunch of stuff with them. I'll show you all sorts of manipulations you can do with them. And we will finish by talking about how you can add comments to your code. So comments that a reader like me can go through and see what you are doing. But the bulk of this video will be manipulating strings, functions you can do with them. So first, let me begin with a preliminary remark. A string consists of individual characters. We know this already. Each character has a position in the string. Okay, there's a first character, a second character, a third character, and so on. C++, though, does not think of the first character of being at position 1. Okay, you would expect the first character to be in position 1. That's not what C++ does. It thinks of the first character as being at position 0. So consider this string here. It's just my name, dr period space, and then my last name. Whoa, what is that? Okay, I don't know why I did that. But anyway, here's a string that's just my name. So this string consists of 1, 2, 3, 4, 10 characters. Okay, the D is at position 0, the R is at position 1, the period is at position 2, etc. So even though there are 10 characters here, the positions don't run from 1 to 10, which is what you would like them to do. The positions run from 0 to 9. So anytime in C++ where you have things in a list like this is sort of a list of characters, anytime you have that, the first position is position 0. The second position is position 1, etc. So I say you will forget this multiple times during the semester. That may or may not be true. You might not forget about it, but you will definitely be annoyed by it. Okay, the students always find this highly obnoxious. And all I can say is, I'm sorry, I did not create the language. Okay, if I were building C++, I would count the first character as being at position 1, the second character at position 2, etc. Okay, but the developers of C++ decided to start their position counting at 0, not at 1. I'm sorry. Okay, there's nothing I can do about it. So prepare to be annoyed by this throughout the rest of the semester. Another preliminary remark here is that for any of the string commands I'm going to show you to work, you have to put this pound include string at the top of your code. So this is just a pre-existing library that we will plug into that makes all of these functions go. Okay, here's the first function that we're going to talk about, string length. The function length gives the number of characters in a string. So for example here, if string name is Dr. McCune, and there should not be a space right here. I'm not sure why there is one. We can now declare an integer and call it name length, since this is name. And the way you use the length function is name.length. And then if I print this to the screen, it will print 10, because that's the number of characters in this string. So just to show you in practice how that works, here's my bare bones of any program again. Notice I've already included a include string up here. So now let me just create a string. Hi class. And let me just ask the computer to print the length of that string. Oops. Okay, so all it's going to do is print how many characters there are in this string, my string. So let's count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So the exclamation mark is a character. So I'm predicting this will print 9. And it does. It prints 9. Okay, so the length function, the way you use it is just by doing period and then length, empty parentheses at the end of your string name. And the computer will know that's how many characters there are in your string. So I could also have done it this way. I could actually create a storage space in which to put that length, and then I could ask the computer to print that for me. However you want, right? Error messages like this, the caution sign, don't worry about those. It doesn't matter. The red is what's bad. Notice it works as I wanted. It does print 9. So I'm saying create an integer storage space called length, and in that storage space, please place the length of my string. And it did, and I know it did because when I printed it, it worked. Okay, so there's the first function you should know about. You can create an integer that just tells you the number of characters in a string, and the number of characters is called the length. Okay, so if this is my string, it will print, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, right? The length of that string is 10. The next function will find a substring of a string for you. So consider this line of code here. String name is Dr. McCune again. And now I'm going to create a new string, and it's going to pick off a substring of this one. So pick off a little subsequence of it, if you like. And the way I use that command, the way I pick off a substring is with this command, dot substring, but it's been abbreviated. And so what this does is, this says, hey, start looking at position 2 and pick off a substring of length 3 for me. That's what these two numbers are doing. So the first number is position inside the original string, the string name. The second number is the length of the substring that you want. So here's our first chance to be annoyed by the fact that positions are given by, or start at position 0 rather than 1. So this position 2 means, okay, inside this string here, name, D is at position 0, R is at position 1, period is at position 2. So you'd like to think, oh, D is position 1, R is position 2, so I'm going to start at R. But that's not the way it works because D is position 0, R is position 1, period is position 2. And once I'm at the period, I now pick off a substring of length 3. So 1, 2, 3. Remember, the space is a character. Okay, so one space is one character. So this substring I've created here is, again, in plain English, the substring inside of name that starts at position 2 and has length 3. So here it is, period space M. So in general, mystring.substring, that command, you have to give it two numbers. The first number is where you want it to start picking off a substring, and the second number is the length of the substring that you want. So one bit of confusion here, this always happens when students are dealing with this. You have to remember exactly what these numbers mean. Students are tempted to mean, or to think this means that, oh, I go to position 2 and I end at position 3. Okay, so that's sort of how it looks like it's set up. That's not the way it's set up. Okay, so if I start at position 2 and end at position 3, then I'm just picking off this period here. But the second number is not in an end position. It's not an end position. The second number is a length. It's the length of the substring you want. Yeah, so common mistake. The second number is the length of the substring you're trying to get, not the end position of the substring. So start position, length of substring, combined with dot substring here, substr of the original string, will pick off a substring for you. Okay, you can insert a string inside of another string if you want to. So let me just keep my string name the same. Name is still Dr. McCune. So let me define a new string, and the name of it will be truth, and I'll just have it be as cool. Okay, that's the name here. If I do name.insert 9 truth, then what will happen is inside the original string, the string name, at position 9, I'm going to insert this new string. Okay, so this first number is a position number, position 9. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a space right here. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Oh, did you see what I did? I started counting at position 1, didn't I? So let me go back. Position 0. 0, 1, 2, 3 is the space. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So right here at position 9 is going to put this string in there. So the previous code will insert the string truth into the string name at position 9. So let's actually just run this and see how it goes. So let me do string name equals Dr. McCune. And let me now insert name.insert 9 truth. But of course I have to tell it what truth is. See, right now it's yelling at me for a number of reasons. I haven't declared truth yet. And also length. I used to have it declared, but I erased it. So let me just get rid of this. Okay, so string truth equals cool. Okay, so at the end of all this, let's make it print to the screen what it thinks name is now. So at this spot in the code, name is just Dr. McCune. But at this spot in the code, we insert something into that string. So at this point in the code, when it prints, that insertion should be reflected. Yeah, okay, so I put it right, let's see, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So right at that E spot, it puts is cool in there. So if I wanted to actually make it right is cool at the end like the way you want, I would go to position 10, which is now the other side of that E, and put it in there. So now it says what you think it should say. Okay, so that's how insertion works. This first number is a spot at which you put something. The second input here is what you want it to put in. And by the way, let me just get rid of this. If I didn't want to actually define the new string, I can just manually put it in like this. You know, anytime you're dealing with strings, you just have to put things inside double quotes. This will run the same way. So it doesn't matter. You can like actually create the string and then put the variable name here, or you can just use quotes. So in any case, you can take a string and put something inside of it if you want to. Yeah, so string name dot insert, start position, and then give it a second string to insert. We'll take that string, other string, and put it inside of my string at position, whatever this number is that you gave it. Okay, so if you can put something in, you can certainly take away. So as opposed to growing the string by inserting something, you can also erase things from the string. And the way that this works is you do the name dot erase, and you give it a start position, so position 3, and then you give it a length, just like with the dot substring command. The first number here is a start position. The second number is how many characters do you want it to erase, so a length number. So this code will erase the substring of length 2 starting at position 3 from the string name. So after this code, name is now shortened. Right? It starts at position 3, so 0, 1, 2, 3, and then erases 2 characters, a space and a capital M. So the result is this. So you can put things inside of a string, you can take things out of a string. So myString.erase, you give it 2 numbers. The first number is a start position, the second number is a length position. Deletes the substring from myString starting at position start of length length. So in this case, starting at position 3, I will erase 2 characters. And by the way, this is not symmetric. You cannot switch 2 and 3. The first number is a start position. The second number is a number of characters. It's a length number. So you cannot write here name.erase 2, 3 if you mean 3, 2. Okay, those will be different things. Okay, So if you ever are searching a string for something, you can always do that also. So suppose, again, the example I go to in my head a lot is a hangman program. So if you want to write a hangman program, you have this hidden word, right? So let's say, what, table? I don't know. That's sort of stupid, but so table is the hidden word. If you're going to play this game, if you're going to teach a computer how to play this game, the computer has to be able to find individual letters inside of that string. So if the user enters an A, you have to be able to find A's inside of that string or tell the user that you didn't find an A. Okay, so for things like that, it's important to be able to search inside of strings for other things. So the way you do that is with, oh, it's missing. I don't know why that didn't compile here. It's missing a find. So let me actually do this in the compiler since it's missing it. It should say name.find. And I don't know why the find is not appearing there, but that's all right. So string name is Dr. McCune, name.find. The way the find function works is the first thing you do is tell it what you want it to look for. And then the second number is you tell it where you want it to start looking. And so this is an integer, so it's going to give you a position. Okay, so what's happening here is I have a string called name. I want you to find something inside of that string for me. I want you to look for the word McCune, and I want you to start looking at position 1. So start from R is where it will start looking. What position will be is the first instance of McCune that the thing finds. The position of the first instance of McCune that it finds. Okay, so since it starts looking at 1, it's going to say, okay, I go to position 2, I don't find a McCune. Position 3, don't find a McCune. Oh, but starting at position 4, I do find a McCune. So I'm going to tell the user, oops, I should have it print position to the screen for me so I can see what it thinks it is. So it gives me back a 4, okay, because it's telling me I found McCune at position 4. And it always finds the first instance. So if I have multiple McCunes here, if you start your search from position 1, it will still give you a 4 back because that's the first instance of McCune. 4. But if I decide to start my search later, like, okay, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now I'm going to start my search from here. It will give me the first instance of McCune that it finds starting at position 6. So it can't give me 4 anymore because it's not looking early enough. Now it gives me 11 because now the first instance of McCune that it finds is right here at position 11. So that's how the find function works. You give it the string you're looking for, you give it a position where you want it to start looking, and it will give you a number back. The number back that it gives you is the first instance of this string that it finds. Okay, so a natural question to ask here is, well, what if it searches and doesn't find anything? So let me have it search. Okay, so 0, 1, 2, 3, 9, 15. So let me have it start looking at position 19. If you start looking at position 19, there certainly are McCunes inside this string, but not past position 19. So if you ask it to search for McCune and you start your search too late, it won't find McCune. So the question is, what happens in that case? What happens is it gives you a -1 back. So anytime you do a find thing and -1 is the number it hands you back, it's telling you it did not find what you were looking for. So let me just find a string that's not in there at all. So if I tell it, hey, just find hi inside of the string for me, and anytime you just want to look inside of an overall string, just start your search at position 0. So let's see if it finds hi inside of that string name. It doesn't, okay? And I knew it didn't because it gave me a -1 back when I asked it for position. Okay, so I apologize for the gap in the slide. I don't know why find isn't here, but the code here returns the starting position of this search string. I'm telling it, hey, find this for me, please. Inside of the original name, where the searching starts at position 2, if the substring isn't found, then your find function will give you a -1 back, which means that position is -1. Okay, so that's how you can find the positions of substrings inside of your overall strings and tell if it's not there. Yeah, okay, so the find shows up here. Okay, so myString.find, you have to give it a substring you're looking for, give it a start position for the search, will return the starting position of the first instance of substring inside of myString where the search starts at position start. Okay, so I've given you a bunch of different functions, and here they all are. Just we'll do the example in a second, but we've talked about the length of a string, finding a substring inside of a string, putting things inside of a string, so taking a string and expanding it by putting stuff inside, erasing substrings from a string, so taking a string and condensing it by taking stuff out. And finally, we talked about finding things inside of strings, and in particular, finding the position inside of a string of something that you are looking for. Okay, so let's put all of these functions together, or most of them together, into a program. Let's write a program that takes the first instance of don't like inside of a user-given phrase and replaces it with love. So this will be a program that makes things positive. The user will say, I don't like something, and you're going to take that don't like and replace it with love. Okay, so at the very least, we'll talk about how this program goes in a second, but let me first just declare a variable that we'll get from the user, and then let's get it from them. So phrase please, and then since we're going to get a phrase, we have to use the getLine command. Remember this? Okay, so far what we've done is we've defined, or we've declared a string that a user can give us. We ask the user for it, and then we get it. That's what we've done so far. So before we go any farther though, let's talk about how you do this. How do you find the first instance of don't like inside of a user-given phrase and replace it with something? That seems kind of difficult, or at least it does to me. Okay, so let's just go to our list of stuff we can do here. Okay, so certainly if we want to find something inside of a string, we can find it using the find function. So it seems to me that the first thing we should do is write some code that will find this phrase don't like, just so we know where it is. Okay, so let's do that. Let's create up here a variable for that position. And now let's just say down here, find position is user string dot find. I have to tell it what I'm looking for. In this case, I'm looking for don't like. I have to tell the computer where I want it to start looking. Well, may as well look through the entire string. All right? We want to just find the first instance. So let's just look through the entire string. And as before, ignore this yellow thing here. It doesn't matter. So what this find position variable is right now, its value is the first instance of don't like inside of the string user string. So before we do anything further, let's just make sure this is doing the right thing. Okay, so let's get a phrase from the user. I don't like this. So after I hit enter, that will be placed inside user string, and then the code will find the first instance of don't like, and it will print that position to the screen. Whoops. Okay, so let me hit enter here. It tells me position 2. Okay, that's correct because I is at position 0, space is at position 1, and then don't like starts at position 2. And you know, if I do multiple don't likes, it will still give me position 2 because it's giving me the first instance of don't like that it finds. Okay, so if you want to take the first instance of don't like and replace it with something, it seems to me the first thing you should do is find the don't like, or at least find its position. So we've done that. Now the question is, how do you replace something? how do you replace this substring with another string? So if I go to my little table of functions here, we don't have a replace function, do we? We have a length, a find a substring, or sorry, give me the substring inside of here, insert, erase, and find. We don't have a dot replace anywhere. The reason we don't have a dot replace, though, is because you can get the same effect by simply erasing something, and then inserting what you want to replace. So back up here, to replace don't like with love, all we have to do is erase don't like and then insert a love. That will have the effect of replacing, right? So to replace something means take it out and then put something else back in. So the question is, how do we do that? How do we take out that don't like and replace it with love? Well, back here in the code, notice I've already found the position of don't like. So now all I have to do is erase that don't like. So let's see, user string. Okay, so what do I have to do? I have to, let me make sure I don't mess this up. I want to erase, so I have to give it a start position. Well, I found the instance of don't like. I found that position. So let me just give the code that variable, and then I have to give it a length. So how long is this don't like here? So it looks like it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 characters in don't like. So I want to erase. Oops. User string dot erase that stuff. Okay, so what's happening here is I found where don't like occurs, and I know I want to erase 10 characters because don't like has 10 characters in it. So I'm going to tell the code inside of user string, please erase for me 10 characters, and I want you to start that erasing at this position I found earlier. So now, let me just, we're not done yet, but let me just have it print to the screen what the user string is. Okay, so it says phrase please. I'm going to type I don't like this. So again, that I don't like this will be put inside of user string. The code will find the position of this don't like. The next thing it will do is erase 10 characters starting at that position of don't like, and then it will print the resulting string to me. So notice it erased don't like. Notice there are two spaces here, right? You notice that? Because this space survives the erasing and this space survives the erasing. So if you want to make this aesthetically more pleasing, you could do like this to erase the space after like. And now there's just one space. Okay, but in any case, you see how this is working, I hope. Now, how do we finish this off? Because we are supposed to write a program that takes don't like and replaces it with love. So we've gotten the erasing part done. We've erased don't like. Now we need to put a love in there. Well, where do you put love? Let's see. So let me make sure we don't mess this up. So we have to tell it a start position and the string we want in there. Where you're going to put love is where you took the don't like from. And what are you going to put in? You're going to put in a love. Okay, so this is fairly sophisticated what's happening here. Okay, this might be confusing. So let's talk through this again. If you want to replace don't like with love, the first thing you have to do is find the don't like, find the position of it. That's what we did here. We declared find position to be that, that position of don't like. Once you know that position, you know that starting at that position, I need to erase 10 characters, or 11, I suppose, to get rid of the space after like. And then at that same position, I have to put a love in there. So let's see if this works. So phrase please. I don't like Dr. McCune. How rude. Yes, so I will fix that for you. I love Dr. McCune. Indeed. Let me put 10 back there. Yeah, so in this case, I want to keep those two spaces, I suppose. So I don't like Dr. McCune. There, I fixed that. Okay, here's what you meant to say. Okay, so you can do this for anything, right? So like, I don't like C++. How rude. You certainly didn't mean to say that. I'm not sure. You must be upset right now for some other reason. So let me fix that for you. You would love this class. Yes, you love this material. Okay, so here's a way you can use this code. Now this of course is these functions. This of course is kind of a contrived example. We will use this in more sophisticated ways later, right? But you can imagine, again, thinking about a hangman program. If you have a hidden word, you can imagine using this sort of code to take a hidden symbol, like a space or an asterisk or something that's hiding the letters, and going through and finding the letter you want to find based on the user input, and erasing the hidden symbol and replacing it with the letter that's actually there, just for example. Okay, so you can imagine all sorts of game theoretic examples here. You can imagine taking a genome, a human genome, and finding bad spots and replacing them. Like maybe capital A is bad. What it should be is like DD or something. I don't know. And so taking AA away and putting DG in there, whatever. This code can be used to do things like that. Okay. So just briefly to end the video here, I want to briefly talk about how you comment code. So commenting code means to make certain lines of code invisible to the compiler. There are two reasons this is useful. The first reason is that commenting code is a useful way to communicate to somebody else who might be reading your code, like say me, to see what you were doing. So imagine that you were writing a program that plays multiple games. Maybe it plays like blackjack and poker. So the way you write a comment is with a // like this. So you could say like, poker code below. And then later on when you get to the what other game did I say? Blackjack or something. You say like blackjack code here. And then there's stuff all beneath here. As a reader, I would then know what your code is supposed to be doing, right? So comments are useful to other people who are coming into your code and not understanding what you're doing. You can tell them what you're doing with certain lines of code. And now if I run this, okay, it's not going to see these green lines. So it runs just like it did before. These lines of code add nothing to what the computer sees. This is invisible to the computer. Okay, so in shorter programs like this, comments are not necessary at all because any reader can come in and see exactly what you're doing. So comments that are used for communication like this are used in more sophisticated programs and bigger programs. In particular, if you name your variables well, like I did, okay, then there's no reason to tell me what the variables are doing. So sometimes students will say like, this variable is for the string that the user will give, or whatever. Like they'll comment like this. And my response is, look, if you already named it this, I know what that's for. So a lot of times you just be strategic with your naming so that a reader will know what you're doing. Okay, so there are two ways to make a comment. The first way I just showed you. You can comment out individual lines. If you need to comment out more than one line, you can shortcut it with this. So a /* will begin the comment, and an */ will end the comment. So now all of this is invisible to the compiler. Okay, so so it says here this is a useful way to communicate or to help you debug a program. So what that means is, suppose your code's running, but it's not doing what it's supposed to do. Okay, so there's an error there somewhere. One way that you can find an error is by maybe the error is in this line of code. So you can take this line of code out without losing the text. So I suppose you could also take the code out by doing that, like erasing it. But then the code's gone. You don't want to just erase willy-nilly code all over the place to try to fix things. So you can keep the text there, keep the code there by commenting it out, And once you comment this out, run the code and see if it's running the way it's supposed to. See if the error is in this line of code. Okay, so I mentioned this not because we'll need it now, but because it's just something to keep in mind if you want to start debugging things, essentially. If you have code that's not working the way you want, you can keep your code there, just make it invisible to the compiler and see what the rest of the code does. Okay, and that's all for this video.